Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be going over a loading bar tutorial in Python. And with that we can get right on into the video. When we click this, the Python script is going to run, and basically as you can see, this is what we're going to be building. This is really cool. You can actually attach it to a lot of other projects that you have, and you can use this in a bunch of different situations. But for now I'm just going to show you how to build it so that you can use this elsewhere outside of your code. So let's hop on into the file here and VS Code, and let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is create a function. And let's just call this load bar, like the name. And then for the time being, we're just going to toss in pass right here. But this is going to take in some functions. So the first thing we're going to have is a iteration. So what iteration we're on, the total number of iterations we're going to have, and then some things to customize it. So what do we want to add at the beginning of this? What do we want to have at the end of it? Suffix. I can't type. How many decimals do we want to show? So in my case I just had 1, so let's continue that on. And then we can also think of a length, which is going to be the total number of the whatever character we have, how many characters we want to actually have within this length. We set that to be 100 just for default right now. And then the fill character, which I had as the right caret. So we can continue in doing that. So the first thing we're going to want to do is actually create the percentage format. So what's going to show at the end the percentage of the bar that's filled up. So in order to do that, what we can do is just type in %, and then we're going to want to create a formatted string. So in this case, because we want to do some calculation but then also have it formatted, taking in this decimal value as part of that formatting, we can do it just like this within Python. We can actually add in here, we can do the start of the format string with a 0, meaning the first argument we're going to pass, this one we want to format, and then we can put a period, and this is where we're going to want to actually add in the string value of the decimals that we pass to it, and then we're going to basically end this. So because I want it to be a float, and then close curly brace, and then this is going to be our format. Now we can actually do the calculation, which is going to be format 100, which again, 100 is to make it the percentage, and then this is going to be the iterations divided by a float of the total. So the reason why we do a float here is so that we can get an actual decimal value, since both the iteration as well as the total are going to be whole integers, but we want to get those to be a decimal. So just creating this, one of these is a float, will automatically cast this entire value to a float, so then we can get an actual percentage out. The next thing we want to do now is actually figure out how much of the current bar is actually filled up. So we can just call that filled length. And what we want to do here is we're going to want to cast to an integer, because again we would need to have a whole number for how many of the characters we need to show. So what we can do is we can actually show, let's do an int length times, now we want to do iteration, and then we do double. So if you're not aware of this, actually having 2 of these creates a floor on it. So it's a divisional floor, which means if it basically chops off the fractional aspect of the number. And again, we want to have that because the fact that this filled length should be a whole number, because that's how many of the fill characters we're actually going to have. So then the next thing we're going to do is actually create the bar itself. So when it's empty, we need to create this bar. So what it's going to be is it's going to be the fill, how many of them are filled, the fill character times the filled length, and then we're going to add on our not filled character, which in this case I just have as a dash, and then we want to take that times length minus filled length. And again, this is very straightforward. In fact, we have our total length. We want to subtract off how many of them are actually filled up at this point, and fill that many times with this character, and then use the filled length and fill the fill character in that many times. So in Python, again, what this is doing is it's just repeating this character this many times. So it's another cool thing about Python. So then after this, we just need to print it off. So we're going to have print, and then let's do a formatted string here, an F string. And the first thing we want to do is have the \r. What this is actually a return carriage. That's what that means. It means carriage return, which basically takes your caret, or at this point, like where my flashing little cursor is right here, and it brings it back to the beginning of the line. That's all that does. So we're going to want to do that. And then inside here again, we're going to want to add in the prefix. And then we're going to want to put a space, put in the bar, another space, and then we're going to put in the percent and actually put the percentage sign right after that, as well as in the optional suffix that we have as well. So this suffix and prefix we have up here, they're both optional that can be passed in. And then the last thing we're going to want to do is actually pass in another value to this print statement, and we're going to change actually the end value up. So typically what happens in print is it gives you a new line. So by default this is \n, which means it does a carriage return to the next line, whereas we want to end that with an actual carriage return on the same line. And then with that, the last thing we're going to do is we're basically just going to like end it by basically saying like if iteration is equal to total, then what we're going to want to do is just print out. And what this is going to do is just going to print out a blank line. So now that we've done this, this is basically it. So this is it being done, but we want to see this in action. So what we can do is just create a simple list, iterate over the list, and then show it getting completed in the console. So here we go. Let's create an easy list, and we just do 0 to 50, let's say. We'll get the length of that list, and then what we can do is we'll do a load bar, and then we're going to print out the very first iteration of it. So we're going to say the iteration is 0, go for the length of it with a prefix of progress, a suffix of complete, and then the total length is basically, again, like we just said, is going to be 50 in this case. So we can just basically put right here length equals L, and it'll give us the same exact thing. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go for I item in enumerate items, and then sleep, and then that's where the sleep function, we can actually go to the very top here and import from time, import sleep. And what this is doing is just creating a system sleep so that we can actually see this a little bit slower and it doesn't instantly fill up. And then load bar I+1 L prefix again, and here I'm actually just going to copy and paste the rest of this, and there we go. And now when we run this, oh, we can actually see we had an error. It's part of coding. Okay, and just like that, now when we run this, you can see we have here the progress bar. So we can actually clear that out just so we can see it one more time. We're going to run it one more time. And there you go. And there you have it. You've built a loading bar that you can use and export this to anywhere else in any of your projects that you need to have this type of tracking. And you can definitely add in some more customization if you want. Please leave a like on this video, as well as leave a comment for any more projects you want to see me do. But I'll see you next time.